بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So we begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah for the barakah, the benefit of time, and we begin in the words of our Prophet to say Allahumma anfa'ni ma 'allamtani wa 'allimni ma yanfa'uni wa zidni ilma. Oh Allah, I ask you to benefit me with what I know and to increase me in benefit and to increase me in knowledge. And we ask Allah bless us in a very short gathering. And so we began alhamdulillah with the text of Imam al-Bukhari, Adab al-Mufrad. This is the text that is known as the sole text on the topic of al-Adab. And al-Adab is synonymous with things like husn al-khuluq, good character. This was Imam al-Bukhari's second most important work after his Sahih. And it contains hadith, about 1,300 something hadith. Half of all hadith contained in Adab al-Mufrad are found in the Sahih al-Bukhari itself. And so we began our first weeks by discussing the importance of, number one, Imam al-Bukhari's choice of al-Adab as a topic. Many of the ulama wrote books on Adab, Adab al-Qadi, Adab of Majalis, Adab of gatherings, Adab of al-Akhal, Adab of eating and drinking, Adab of Wizara, governorship, in Islamic rule. Books in Persian called Mirrors of Prince, a very famous text that we used in the time of Salahuddin and Nuruddin, and in the Zengid rule to teach rulers how to have mannerism and etiquette as rulers. Salahuddin was known as someone who was very chivalrous in the culture of chivalry. He became a leading, standing figure even in Christian kingdoms because of his adab, in rule. And so adab is very essential for us as Muslims. Our Prophet said, that I have been sent, indeed, innama is tawqeed, it is an emphasis, indeed I have been sent only for the purpose really of perfecting and correcting noble character. And we spent, I think, the second week then discussing the importance of husn al-khuluq, of mannerism and akhlaq. That our Prophet said that ma min shay'in, ma is a nafi of negation, ma min shay'in, that there is nothing athqalu fi mizan al-mu'min yawm al-qiyamah min khuluqin hasan, that is heavier on the scale of the believer on yawm al-qiyamah than having a good character, an excellent character. This is the quality of ihsan. The Imam in his first recital of first rakat was speaking about those who have ziyadah. And the ulama of husna, and Allah and the Mufassirin, they say this verse is about not just Jannah but Firdaus al-A'la, right? They have the highest of heaven. And this is like in the ulama they discuss al-jazak min jins al-amal, that the reward is a recompense for what we used to do. So if you take the approach of wanting to be of the muhsineen and the quality of ihsan in this life, Allah then gives you the best of Firdaus, in the next life. And so this was stressed in so many hadith that our Prophet said that إِنَّ مِنْ أَحَبِّكُمْ إِلَيْهِ وَأَقْرَبِكُمْ مِنِّي مَجْلِسًا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ حَاسِنُكُمْ أَخْلَاقًا, from the most beloved people to me and the closest to me on the day of judgment are those who have the best character. Ibn Qayyim says, rahimahullah, الدين كله خلق فمن زاد عليك في الخلق زاد عليك في الدين. The whole deen is good character. And whoever outdoes you in good character has outdone you in the religion. What does that mean? It means that there are so many strands that emanate from husn al-khuluq. Like Ibn Qayyim would say, the main ones are like shuja'a, courage, and wafa, having a sense of humility and modesty, and sabr and patience and hilm and forbearance. All of these are from husn al-khuluq. So if somebody encapsulates these, it's likely therefore that in the course of his life, in his dealings with other human beings, he's going to excel and exceed the mark. Sahaba, they said, Ya Rasulullah, tell us, tell us the main thing that would lead people to heaven. And he said two things: taqwa Allah wa husn al-khuluq, having fear of Allah and having a good character. And so that's something that is so essential for us as Muslims to try and get right in our life. So we excel in this area. We can be close to Allah, close to His Prophet, and beloved to Allah. on account of a person's good character. And there's so many things we discussed in light of this. We spoke about Imam Bukhari in his life, him as a young boy, and how he traveled to the Hijaz several times, and then to Baghdad. And he was from Uzbekistan, was his place of birth. And he was known as somebody who, from Bukhara, he was known as someone who had a very profound memory. And this came across in his writings on Ilm al-Rijal, which was the books of biographies of the narrators of hadith. And he didn't know only the sanad, the asanid, the chains of narrations of hadith, but he knew about the biographies of the narrators. And he became known for this quality. And so we began, therefore, in the beginning, some weeks back on the beginning of this text. And the first chapter, the Bab, قوله تعالى وصينا الإنسان بوالديه حسنا. And this is a chapter of the Quran. This was from a verse in the Quran where Allah speaks about goodness to parents. And Imam Bukhari, therefore, in book Adab al-Mufrad, begins by discussing the adab that is due to one's parents, right? One's parents. And so in the course of a life, therefore, when you think about social relationships, the most important quality of character to get right is with respect to a person and his parents. There are many ways we speak about this. Al-Adab, al-Mufrad, for example, or husn al-khuluq, we see it, number one, in relation to Allah, husn al-khuluq ma'Allah, have a good character with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remembers what that entails. What is a good character with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What does that mean? That we believe in Him, that we fear Him, that we trust in Him, that we love Him. Right? These are all good character with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also khushu' and salah. This pertains to good character with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We feel a sense of modesty with Allah, that's a good character with Allah. And al-husn al-khuluq ma'an nabi, a good character with the Prophet ﷺ, believing in him, defending him, upholding his sunnah. All of these are good character with the Prophet ﷺ. And then husn al-khuluq ma'an nas, good character with the people, in talking, in listening, in behaving, in etiquettes, in patience and forbearance. And husn al-khuluq, good character with the rest of Allah's creation, even animals, with the earth. The verses in Surah Al-Quran are very key for that, Uthman and his advice to his son. And so the opening, therefore, of his text, al-Mufrad, the first few hadith are about good character and bir al-walidain, good character etiquette and piety towards one's parents. We spoke about the purpose behind the title of his chapter from the verse in the Quran, وَصَّيْنَ الْإِنسَانِ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حُسْنًا. There are three verses in the Quran that have a similar opening. One is husna, ihsana, one is just وَصَّيْنَ الْإِنسَانِ بِوَالِدَيْهِ, be enjoined upon man. And the induction, of course, is that Allah enjoins upon man excellence to his parents. In all three, Allah is saying the same thing. In this verse, however, Allah is saying, وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ لِتُشْرِكَ بِي مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِعِلْمٍ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. Allah is saying, if your parents push you, compel you, encourage you to make shirk with me, then don't obey them in this. إِلَيْهِ مَرْجِعُكُمْ. Allah says, to me you will return and I will inform what you used to do. And we spoke about the circumstances of revelation for this verse concerning the Prophet's companion Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas when he had a difficulty with his mother who refused to eat food, refused to drink, because she said, I will not eat nor drink until you leave the religion of Muhammad but of course he refused in this, but still he was courteous towards his mother on the bed that could have been her deathbed. And on account of this, in showing good mannerisms, Allah revealed this verse. It was a very famous line. Sa'd said to his mother that if you had 100 souls or 1,000 souls and each one was to leave your body one after the other, I would still never leave my religion of Islam. And Allah is saying, therefore, we enjoined upon man excellence to his parents. And if they compel you and push you to make shirk with me, فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا, then don't obey them in this. Another verse says, وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا, and live with them in equity and excellence. صَاحِبْهُمَا. Some of the earliest hadith that Imam Bukhari discusses are precisely on this topic. Like the hadith when the man says, أَيُّ النَّاسِ حَقِّي بِحُسْنِ صَحَابَتِي, مَنْ حَقَّ النَّاسِ بِحُسْنِ صَحَابَتِي, who is the most deserving person of my good companionship? حُسْنِ صَحَابَتِي, excellent companionship. And the Prophet then said, Ummak, your mother, ثُمَّ أَيُّ ثُمَّ مَنْ, then who? Your mother, then your mother, and then your father. And so the early narrations, therefore, he goes through these different narrations, like I think the hadith 1, 2, 3 are like this. This hadith books also contains mawquf hadith are like athar or athar. These are narrations from Sahaba, and they're mawquf because they stop at the Prophet's companion without reaching the Prophet himself. I mean, the narration doesn't extend to the Prophet himself. The hadith have immense value because if they're stopping at a companion, it means the companion must have learned something from what he's saying from the lips of the Prophet ﷺ. And so the first one, therefore, we encountered like this was from Abdullah ibn Umar, when he says, رِضَى الرَّبِّ فِي رِضَى الْوَالِدِ وَسَخْطَ الرَّبِّ فِي سَخْطَ الْوَالِدِ, that the pleasure of the Lord is in the pleasure of the parent, and the anger of the Lord is in the anger of the parent. This was hadith number 2, which came as an athar, as a narration. That's hadith mawquf, and there's many of them like this in this book. And then it moved on to bab birrul specific. So the first one was general, as birrul walidain, goodness to one's parents, and then it became specific to excellence towards one's mother. And we went through many narrations like this, and so we finished so yes, last week's class, hadith number 7, was on bab birrul walidain wa in zalama, that doing good to one's parents even if they're unjust, and we discussed what this meant. We're relying on the commentary of Shaykh al-Salahi in his commentary of this Adab al-Mufrad, and he spoke about this in light of what does it mean that you would be good to your parents even if they're wrongdoers. And he spoke about different. He says that number one, if you feel burdened by something your parents are instructing you to do, and you feel this is an injustice, you're still obligated by to obey them in this. And the Prophet ended the words by saying, even if they do wrong, obey them in this. And he said, if they are unjust, even if they're unjust. But then with the condition that the injustice should not extend to another person, right? It shouldn't extend to somebody else, then that's going to be like a double wrong. Number 3, the point that at the essence of the asal foundation, dhulm is wrong. Hadith Qudsi, when Allah says, Ya ibadi inni haramtu dhulma ala nafsi wa ja'atu bainakum haraman fala tadhalamu. My servants, I have forbidden injustice on myself, and I forbid the same amongst you, so do not be unjust. The Prophet says, Iyakum wa dhulm, beware of injustice. فَإِنَّ الظُّلْمَ ظُلُمَاتُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ, because injustice is darknesses on the day of judgment. Right? And then the third point was that if it is a sin, right? Because there's one thing about something could be like a wrongdoing, could be an overburdening on you, but if it's a sin that you're commanded to by your parents, then there's no obedience in this, based on the hadith and the qaida, which is that there's no obedience to the creation in the disobedience to the Creator. And this is like the ulama is saying, even about shirk, this extends to any act of disobedience. There's no obedience to parents or anybody else in disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then, this was our last thing, last time, speaking gently with one's parents. One of the poets says to his son, يا بني إن البر شيء هين وجه طريق وكلام لين. My son, piety is an easy thing to achieve. It is a cheerful face and a good word, a gentle one, to speak gently to people. Allah in the Quran says, قُلْ لِعَبَادِي يَقُولُ الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ يَنْزَغُ بَيْنَهُمْ. Allah says, tell my servants to speak excellent words. Be beautiful in your discourse to other people. Indeed, shaitan wants to sow corruption, friction between you. And this is of course shaitan's aim, to cause division between people. And Allah commands us to speak beautiful words to one another. Right? And so, we went through this hadith, and then the hadith number 9 was when Hisham ibn Urwa related on the authority of his father, the following verse, وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ قَالَ لَا تَمْتَنِعْ مِنْ شَيْءٍ أَحْبَّهُ. He was asked about the verse, and spread over them, Allah says, humbly the wings of your tenderness. Look at the imagery Allah is using, وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ, the wings of dhull and rahmah, of humbleness, humility and mercy. And he says it means that you don't deny them or refuse them anything that they love. Allahu Akbar. Now we come therefore today's class from hadith number 10. This hadith is on the authority of Abu Hurairah who said that Muslim said that لا يجزي والده إلا أن يجده مملوكا فيشتريه فيعتقه. لا يجزي والده إلا أن يجده مملوكا فيشتريه فيعتقه. That the Prophet said that the only way a child can repay his or her father or mother is to buy his or her parents' freedom if he or she finds either of them in bondage, in slavery. This hadith is also found in Sahih Muslim, Ibn Hibban, Ibn Jarud, Ibn Majah, Abu Dawud and Tirmidhi. So what does this hadith mean then? That the only way you could repay your parents is if you found them in bondage, you would then free them and ransom them. So Shaykh al-Salah, he comments on this, gives examples, and he says, it's like, for example, if a mother, if a woman is a slave to a master, and they have a child together. If the master then marries, the woman, and they have a child together, she's known as Walid, the mother of a child, right? Gives her some honor, right? And nobody can marry her after that, by the way. This is a status she's given. But what about the child then? The child who's born, right? In some respects, he's more important than the mother, isn't it? He has a higher ranking, higher race than even the mother. But if the man then dies, right? So you have the woman who used to be a slave, you have the child who's born free, right? The woman, the child, of course, will in her having her son, who's a free child, she becomes freed. And it doesn't mean that the child has to go undergo a ceremony and say, today I'm freeing you from this. Reminded me, in fact, of once an Arabic station, a man called and he says, Ya Sheikh, I have a question. And the Sheikh said, what is the question? He says, my mother lives with me and my wife. My mother lives with us. And he was about to explain some problems happening, like we discussed last weekend with in-laws and out-laws and everything. And he said, I had this su'al. He said, repeat the question you're asking. He said, yeah, basically what I'm saying is my mother stays with me and my wife in a home. And he said, I had this su'al, repeat the question. He said, yeah, Sheikh, I'm trying to explain, So my mother stays with me and my mom. He said, no. He said, your mother does not stay with you and your wife. You and your wife stay with your mother. I think that there has to be mannerism. And how are you going to speak? Would you speak like that? As if they're less than you? As if, you're burdened because your mother's staying with you? No. This is a beautiful thing. It's like this. And so, and the other thing, of course, to remember is that if you think about being in bondage, if you're enslaved during the time when slavery was rampant and rife in the world, a slave doesn't have control of his freedom. A slave can't do whatever he wants to do, can't eat when he wants to eat, can't sleep when he wants to sleep. And giving somebody a sense of freedom, this is why there's so many hadith about the importance of ransoming a slave. one of the beautiful things after Salah, we should try and practice. So the Prophet says, whoever says 10 times after like Fajr or after Maghrib, 10 times, the Prophet says, whoever stays in his place, stays in his seat, and doesn't get up, doesn't move, doesn't change posture, and doesn't speak, and says 10 times, La ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulk, wa lahul hamd, yuhyi wa yumiitu wa ala kulli shay'in qadir, 10 times, he has a reward of like freeing 10 slaves. One of the rewards is in freeing 10 slaves. And therefore you're giving somebody who didn't have freedom, didn't have the sense of self-autonomy, you're giving them back that autonomy. And that's something that, from this hadith we also learn. Now we're on hadith number 11. No, we did hadith number 11. No, on hadith number 11. Yeah. Okay. This is hadith. Sa'id ibn Abi Burda said, I heard my father relate that he had observed Ibn Umar while a man from Yemen performed tawaf around the Kaaba, carrying his mother on his back and reciting. So he's carrying his mother on his back. In one narration it says, the man came from Khurasan. He came and he says, I hamaltu ummi min Khurasan. I carried my mother on my back from Khurasan, from Afghanistan, one day. And in this narration it says he's reciting this, إِنِّي لَهَا بَعِيرُهَا الْمُذَلَّلِ إِنْ أُذْعِرَتْ رِكَابُهَا لَمْ أُذْعَرْ إِنِّي لَهَا بَعِيرُهَا الْمُذَلَّلِ إِنْ أُذْعِرَتْ رِكَابُهَا لَمْ أُذْعَرْ. And he's saying that I am her lowly beast of burden. If her mouth shies away, I will not. Meaning I am the one that's kind of, subjugated, she's subjugated. I'm, subjecting myself to her. I'm like her low beast of burden, like a riding beast. I can carry her anywhere. And if her normal means of transport, her camel or donkey, whatever, shies away, I would shy away from her. And then he says to Ibn Umar, At-Tarani jazaytuha. That you think now I've now paid my mother back, right? Is this like a good recompense? Bearing in mind everything my mother did for me when I was small, now I'm carrying my mother for the Hajj. And you see this, of course, in the Hajj, you must have seen this yourself, or even the Umrah, parents, of sons maybe carrying their mothers, old, frail women on their backs. And Ibn Umar is asking the same thing. He says, you see now what I'm doing? Do you think I've paid my mother back? And he says to her, قال لا ولا بزفرة واحدة. Zafra is like a groan, like a moan. What it means here, ولا بزفرة واحدة, meaning not even for one moan and groan that she had over you when you were a child. Like during, like her, when she's pregnant with you and she has a contraction, you haven't paid her back, not even for one contraction she had when she was about to give birth to you. Even if you carried your mother on your back and you went all the way from Khurasan, all the way to Mecca, and performed all the manasik, all the rituals of the Hajj, Muzdalifah, Mina, Arafah, everything, Tawaf, you haven't paid your mother back even for one contraction. Even for one contraction. That means there's nothing you could do to pay your mother back. The other hadith, Mawquf, from Ibn Umar we discussed, was when the man came, he says, Ibn Umar, he says, I killed somebody, if you remember. He said, I killed the lady, because he had, he wanted to marry her, somebody else married her, he felt a sense of jealousy, and then he killed her. And this could be before Islam, because there is Islam, there is retribution involved, there's a punishment penalty, and so I have to explain the hadith. But he said, I killed her. And Ibn Umar said to him, he said, Ummuka hayy, is your mother alive? He said, no, she's dead. And he said, just go off and make tawbah. And later on his friends came and he says, why did you even ask about his mother? وَلَا أَعْلَمُ عَمَلًا أَقْرَبُ إِلَى اللَّهِ. I don't know of an action that is أَقْرَبُ حَبُّ إِلَى اللَّهِ مِنْ بِرِّ الْوَالِدَةِ. I don't know of an action that is closer to Allah, more that could have forgiven this man's sins than that he be good to his mother. It doesn't mean, of course, that for the murderer, this is a way out for him. No. This could have been, before the man committed the act he did before Islam in days of Jahiliyyah. It could have been, the man was in the wilderness, But it was a way of showing that, that you could find, Allah's pleasure in this act of worship. And then Ibn Umar performed tawaf. This is good for fiqh. He said perform tawaf and afterwards stop to pray 2 rakats at the place of Ibrahim. So after tawaf you make rak'atayn at Maqam Ibrahim. And when he finished, he said to me, O son of Abu Musa, every 2 cycles of prayer will make up for everything that went before them. So again, this is like the kafara, forgiveness, also in praying the 2 rakat of salah. Hadith number 12. This is Abu Murrah, the freedman of Aqil, related that Marwan used to leave Abu Hurairah in charge of Medina when he performed the Hajj. Abu Hurairah lived at Dhul Khalifa, right next to his mother's house. Abu Murrah further reported that whenever Abu Hurairah wanted to go out, he would stop by the door of his mother's house and say this. Look at this. He says, فَإِذَا أَرَادَ أَنْ يَخْرُجْ وَقَفَ عَلَى بَابِهَا وَقَالَ السَّلَامُ عَلَيْكِ يَا أُمَّتَا وَرَحْمَةُ وَبَرَكَاتُهُ. He would say, Assalamu alaikum, oh, peace be upon you, my dear mother, your ummata. Even your ummata has such a respect in it. Your ummata, not just like your ummata, my dear, venerated, worthy mother. It's like the example of Ibrahim alayhi salam in the Quran with his father. What did he say? Ya Abati, isn't it? Ya Abati. Didn't say Ya Abi, Ya Abati. He said Ya Ummata. He says, in the Quran, Allah says, Ibrahim says, Ya Abati, inni akhafu an yamassaka adab min ar-Rahman. I fear some punishment from Rahman is going to strike you. Oh, my dear respected father, even his father was a pagan fire worshipper. Ya Abati, la ta'bud shaytan, don't worship shaytan. And he's giving like his father a lifeline, like showing him a sense of utter respect and kindness to him by telling him about the mercy of Allah still. And so he says, Ya Ummata, peace be upon you, O my dear mother, and Allah's mercy and blessing. فَتَقُولُ وَعَلَيْكِ يَا بُنَيَّ ورحمة الله وبركاته فيقول رحمك الله رحمك الله كما ربيتني صغيرا. So he would say to her, peace be upon you, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, ya ummata, رحمك الله كما ربيتني صغيرا. May Allah have mercy on you because of how you looked after me when I was small. And she would say to him, wa alayhi salam ya bunay, and peace be upon you, my beloved son, and Allah's mercy and blessing. Rahimakallah, kama barartani kabira. May Allah have mercy on you because of how you're showing piety to me now that I'm old. This is how it should be. Of course, that the servant recognizes, who his parents are, the great value of parents. How, we spoke about in the first few weeks ago, how Allah in the Quran subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he says, one of the verses is, وَصِلْ الْإِنسَانِ بِوَالِدَيْهِ, we command upon man goodness to his parents. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Allah is enjoined upon you to worship and accept Him and to show excellence to your parents. وَإِنْ جَاهَدَاكَ, and if they, one or both, told you to make shirk with me, in me, then don't obey them in this. One of the verses says, أَنِشْكُرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْكَ. Allah says, thank me and thank your parents. That Allah brings that close together. So one is the fact that Allah says, worship man except Him. That's Allah's worship. And secondly, in terms of creation, husnul khuluq, and show the best of manners and piety towards your parents. And then within the verse, Allah is saying, أَنِشْكُرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْكَ, and thank me and thank your parents. Ibn Abbas says, Allah be pleased with him, that this is one of the three things that come together as jewels in the Quran. You have, Allah says, أَقِيمُ الصَّلَاةَ وَأَتُوا الزَّكَاةَ, establish salah, pay zakah. One is أَطِيعُ اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُ الرَّسُولَ, obey Allah, obey the Rasul. And what is this one? Allah is saying, thank me and thank your parents. Come together, can't be separated. And so shukr to Allah and shukr to your parents. A beautiful example of this is the example of Sulaiman alayhi salam. This is a man, of course, who had power. In the Quran, Allah, it's a beautiful, in Surah Al-Naml, in the Quran, chapter of the ants, when Allah is saying that we, وَحُشِرَ سُلَيْمَانَ جُنُودُهُ مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ وَالطَّيْرِ وَهُمْ يُوزَعُونَ, that gathered before Sulaiman. There was this amazing spectacle of power and strength and majesty of humans and jinn and birds, and Allah says they're all arranged in rank file. حَتَّى إِذَا أَتَوْا عَلَى وَادِ النَّمْلِ, until they come to the valley of the ants. قالت نملة يا أيها النمل ادخلوا مساكنكم. The valley of the ants. Imagine, millions of ants. And Allah says, the female queen ant speaks and she says, "Oh ants, enter your homes. لَيَحْتِمَنَّكُمْ سُلَيْمَانَ وَجُنْدُهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ." You don't want Sulaiman and his army to crush you when they don't know they're going to be doing that. When they crush you because they're too small. Now it's amazing. But think about the next verse. فَتَبَسَّمَ ضَحِكَ مِنْ قَوْلِهَا. Sulaiman smiled when he heard these words of the ant. فَقَالَ, and he says, رَبِّي, my Lord, أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي. My Lord, inspire me, inspire me to thank you for what you've blessed me with and blessed my parents with. Who was his father? Dawood alayhi salam. It's a beautiful thing here, by the way, what you learn from your parents. In the Quran, Allah says about Dawood alayhi salam, Allah says, اصبر على ما يقولون واذكر عبدنا داود ذا الأيد إنه أواب. Allah says, be patient about what they say about you, and remember our servant Dawood. ذا الأيد, he had power, but the ulama, they say power of obedience to Allah. And he was awab. Awab is ar-raji ilallah, the one who is always returning his affairs to Allah. Then Allah says, "Inna sakharna al-jibal ma'ahu yusabbihna ma'ahu." Allah says, we cause the mountains to remember Allah with him. وَالطَّيْرَ مَحْشُورًا, and the birds above him remembering Allah with him. كُلٌّ لَهُ أَوَّابٌ, all of them, Allah says, were awwab. Later on, Allah says, and we gave وَهَبْنَا دَاوُودَ سُلَيْمَانَ نِعْمَ الْعَبْدُ إِنَّهُ أَوَّابٌ, and we gifted Dawood, Sulaiman, a good child, and he was also awwab. They were all awwab. So now, this is now Sulaiman's upbringing, Allahu Akbar. Nabi of Allah, what does he say? Oh Allah, bless me, inspire me to thank you what you blessed me with and bless my parents with. Allahu Akbar. And it continues beautiful. And so, this is how Abu Hurairah and his mother, do you remember his mother? He didn't used to believe Abu Hurairah's mother, and Abu Hurairah wasn't happy. And he went all the way to the Prophet and he said, Rasulullah, make dua, Allah give hidayah to my mother. And what did the Prophet do? At that moment, raise his hands to Allah. Allah mahdi Abu Hurairah. At that point, he said, oh Allah, guide the mother of Abu Hurairah. And when he went back home, he couldn't open the door, couldn't get in, because his mother blocked the door, because she'd become Muslim and she was now getting changed. Putting the hijab and jilbab and everything. And he just said, wait, she opened the door, she's already a Muslim. And this was the barakah of the dua for his mother. But look at the concern. And then thereafter, this is how they used to give salam to one another. Peace be upon you, and Allah bless you for what you did for me when I was small. And this is the dua that we say, رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. Oh Allah, have mercy on them like they had mercy on me when I was small. This is one of the beautiful du'as that we read. And even in the verse, the hadith mawquf from hadith number 9, where Hisham ibn Urwa is saying, this is the meaning of وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. That's how the verse ends. Allah said, envelop wrap the wings of mercy and humility around your parents and say, my Lord, have mercy on them because of how they tended to me when I was small. And so whether your parents are alive or dead, you make this dua all the time. If they're alive, make it a lot. If they're dead, make it a lot. This is one of the ways the Prophet said, إِذَا مَاتَ الْإِنسَانِ, if a person dies, أَطَعَمُ لَهُ مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ, all of his actions transpire except three. Except three things. صَدَقَةٌ جَارِيَةٌ, a charity that's moving, the flowing charity, that continues to benefiting people. وَإِلْمٌ نَافِعٌ, a beneficial knowledge, يُنْتَفَعُ بِهِ, he's benefited others with his knowledge. And the other one is وَلَدٌ صَالِحٌ يَدْعُو لَهُ, a pious child who makes dua for him. This is one of the best duas to make, for your parents. رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. And then, hadith number 13. Abdullah ibn Umar said, a man went to the Prophet ﷺ to pledge his allegiance to him for the coming migration from Mecca to Medina. So this man, therefore, he traveled from Mecca, went to Medina, to give the oath of allegiance, the bay'ah to Prophet. Look at what the Prophet says to him. And so the man says, وَتَرَكَ أَبَوَيْهِ يَبْكِيَانِ, and he left his parents crying. So he left Mecca, went to Medina, but he left his parents crying when he was leaving Mecca. And the Prophet told him, he says, ارجع إليهما وأضحكهما كما أبكيتهما. He says to him, go back to them and make them laugh and be happy as you have made them sad and cry. Allah. And Shaykh al-Salahi is going to discuss his hadith in light of, because remember, hijrah is wajib, fard, isn't it? The migration is an obligation. But pleasing your parents is also an obligation. Isn't it? So migrating for some reason is an obligation, pleasing parents is obligation. And he spoke about this in light of the fact that the Prophet didn't want that an action in Islam would cause distress to one's parents. Not to see that the act of worship of Allah, migration, would cause your parents to feel sad and cry, And it would have been better for this, for ensure his parents had, calmed down, settled down, and stopped crying before he left them in the state of crying. And it shows the mercy of Allah. Allah says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We didn't send you except as a mercy for the whole of mankind. This is a demonstration of the Prophet's exquisite and exceptional rahmah, exceptional mercy. And he said to his man, ارجع إليهما, go back to them, وأضحكهما كما أبكيتهما, and make them laugh like you made them cry. Put them in a cheerful spirit, make them feel happy. Not that you come to me, and then you left your parents crying like that. So it's a beautiful, beautiful hadith. Hadith number 14 is the same as hadith number 12. It's a different narration, but it's the same hadith, the same narration as hadith number 11 concerning, hadith number 12. The example of Abu Hurairah and his mother, and so this is, I think we're gonna finish it here, inshallah. So we'll try and go through 3 hadith every week. If there's any questions, we could take, inshallah. Brother.
If your father accidentally wrongs somebody, if your father wrongs somebody, can you tell your father to fear Allah?
Okay, it's a good question. So I think we kind of went there that discussion last week about the hadith about the one the Prophet says when ulama, and if they do wrong, when ulama, even if they do wrong, obey them in this. So if your parent is committing a sin, right, wronging somebody or not doing something they should be doing, is it allowed for you, of course, to advise them? Of course, it's obligatory upon you to advise. Allah in the Quran says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُونُوا قَوَّامِينَ بِالْقِسْطِ شُهَدَاءَ لِلَّهِ وَلَوْ عَلَى أَنفُسِكُمْ أَوْ لِوَالِدٍ وَأَقْرَبِينَ. Allah says, oh, you believe, be upright for justice as witnesses to Allah, even if it's against yourselves, or your parents, or your close ones, whether they're wealthy or poor. Allah says, so you have to always serve Allah. But the question is this, brother, it's about the way we would do that, isn't it? This is the whole point of Adab, Adab al-Mufrad. It's about, if I see my parents doing something wrong, you have a choice. And I was giving an example of when I met, I don't know if you heard that the week ago, when I first met Yusuf Islam, in a gathering, years ago, when I was like 17 in a masjid. And he was giving this advice. And so the point is about the way you would speak to them. So I wouldn't just say, farewell, I mean, it wouldn't have any effect, isn't it? It would have no effect. In fact, it'd have the reverse effect. It'd make them feel scared about you. You'd feel intimidated, if you said farewell, but in the kindest ways possible. In the kindest ways, in the best of mannerism, by showing examples, by giving examples. It's like the famous narration of when Hassan al-Hussein saw the man was making wudu incorrectly. The old man, making wudu incorrectly. And then it's going to say, have you never learned to make wudu? You're so old, you never may learn to make wudu in your life. And they wouldn't say that, but this is how some people could have said that. I think some people would say that. In all time, they'd say that. No knowledge way, no make wudu. They said, no, they just made wudu. And let the man see them make wudu, and then the man said, I haven't made wudu right in my life. Because these were the Prophet's grandchildren, of course they wouldn't have to make wudu. It's about having hikmah, having wisdom, and with kindness, And all these hadith were speaking about having, kalam al-layyin, having a soft-spoken word with your parents. Even if something is wrong, say it in a way that is a beautiful way of saying it. Otherwise, you will aggravate the situation. You make them people can become quite obstinate, stubborn, I'll keep on doing it. This is how Shaitan, of course, works with people like that. And so, you have to correct people if they're doing wrong, but try and find the best way possible of saying that, of doing that, inshallah. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. We'll end there, inshallah.